Leo full moon 2025 season of Aquarius, February. So we've got the Leo full moon, which has to do with big fire. It is the most fiery and biggest fire of all three fire signs. Think of it like the lion being the king of the jungle. Think of it like the person on stage who is the star and everybody looks at, and think of it as the leader kind of energy. So the moon being in that place gives our feelings and our unconscious more consciousness. It makes our feelings more known. It makes them seen more. And it makes us feel more led by said expressions of emotions. Some will say that Leo has to do with the brave heart. So the things that people are speaking up about right now takes a lot of bravery for them to do so around. We're in the season of Aquarius still. The sun is in Aquarius, and the sun is now directly on that teeter-totter between that Leo energy, which is all fire and says, look at me, even in the place that is often hidden, which is the moon. It's saying, look at these emotions. And then there's Aquarius opposed to it where the sun is at. And it says, look at community, look at belonging versus not belonging, look at the structure as a whole outside of the constructs of what we have been thinking for the past almost 300 years. Because Pluto made its transit also here into this Aquarius type energy for the first time in almost 300 years, 260. So we have all of this going on. It can feel electric and it can feel fiery. Aquarius can be very electric. It's often presented in a symbol of a lot of different waves. And it can also feel like there's these sudden emotions, like a telling and a communication of emotions that just seem to be coming out of nowhere. It's represented in the tarot card of the star as someone holding, it's a person who is naked, holding a jug of emotions, pouring it out. Water represents emotions. So it's this energy that seems like it's not even from this world. It seems like, where did this come from? And there's a telling of it, like, oh, you thought everything was calm and you thought everything was just the way that it is? Well, here comes some pouring of emotions out of nowhere. Hello, pay attention to this. So one thing about polar energies, because Leo and Aquarius are opposite energies, but that means that it's the two sides to one teeter-totter. And the way to harness this energy the best is to recognize the differences and similarities in both and figure out where the paradox of it is and solve that paradox by using balance. And by solving that paradox, which is nearly impossible, one is able to best harness the energy of both in order to continue to manifest. What are we continuing to manifest? Whatever we wrote down as our goals or said our goals were 15 days ago on the new moon. The full moon is a time to celebrate. Some will say it's a time of release, and I will say it is not a time of release as in let everything go. It's a time of release as to, you've been working really hard for 15 days. It's time for a recess. And it's time to give recognition and celebration and gratitude for the fact that what you planted metaphorically or literally on the new moon 15 days ago is coming to fruition because you've been working on it. So it's impossible for it not to. It's got to start to come to fruition. So we sit back and just honor the fullness of all of it. If we look at the moon as the energy that it makes us feel, which is this like, oh, wow, and then that means that it's time to fully release, what we get is lunacy. That's why there's a rise in calls to the cop shops on the full moons. That's why there's a rise in unexpected things happening and people ending up in the hospitals on full moons, because it's not a time to release. It's a time to focus on the gratitudes, because gratitude is the attitude for the most successful manifestations. It is by making ourselves feel good, by giving ourselves credit for what is going right and what is going the way that we want it to, that we're able to have the energy and the hope and the build up to keep going and the momentum to keep going towards our goals. The time for release is after the full moon. After the full moon, preferably 3 days, because there's still a lot of energetic power in that full moon gravity happening, that gravity feeling and all of that. That's still happening for 3 days before and 3 days after. But technically, the day after the full moon, that's the time to start releasing. So you got some bad habits you want to get rid of, start then. You got some, bad habits can be, it's bad habits in the regards to anything you want to let go of. And it will still be in the energy of Aquarius. So it will have to do with belonging versus not belonging in communities and relationships to groups as a whole. So let's see. We got that fiery energy of Moon in Leo, electric energy of Aquarius on the same teeter-totter. And we have the moon is squaring Uranus. Now, Uranus is ruled by Aquarius, and Aquarius is just so at home in this type of energy. Uranus is unexpected. You ever make an ASS of yourself? Uranus is kind of at play in those moments where, you did that and it changed the trajectory of everything. You just let something slip, or you did a thing because you're like, oh, so-and-so's doing it, I'll do it too. And boom, everything changes. So we have a square going on where it's challenging. There's going to be a need for flexibility. Aquarius energy also has the tendency to be misunderstood. There's a real need for clear communication. Mercury, which rules our thought and our communication, is also in Aquarius right now. And if we want there to be harmony and unity in various communities for a greater big cause, like a Leo type cause, where there can be a leadership of a type of energy to use, if we want that, we have to be very clear in our communication, because the people who have been misunderstanding for a very long time are still going to be misunderstanding. And so there's a tendency to be misunderstood, and they're going to feel like they're misunderstood. So that's very much like Aquarius stuff. And with Uranus squaring that in this electrical fire energy, Uranus is sudden impact, sudden things that happen that change everything. So there can be unexpected explosions energetically, that if people aren't consciously trying to harness this energy for the best of all mankind or humankind, it's no bueno. So be careful. So Leo energy tends to stand out, take the lead. It's there's definitely a theme of the individuals or the individual mindsets having more importance right now. It's making me think of one time I was in a group where people were saying, we really do think about all of the people in the group, but once in a while there's a minority, 1 or 2 or 3 people that are gonna want something to be a little different, and we just can't go that route because it's not a majority. So this is going to be a time where the 1, 2 or 3 people that are a little outside of the box, they're going to become their feelings are going to become more known, and there's going to be more of those people that are going to be in that group than we ever expected. What else do we got here? I took a little notes because I don't want this to go too long. I want us to be able to concentrate and get this full message. So then we've got Mars. Mars is an energy that rules our drive. It can be our sexy drive, it can be our work drive, but it's basically what motivates us the most. It's been in retrograde, so it slows way down when it's in retrograde, and it's time to look at what are we most motivated by? Where is our drive? What gives us the most energy in life as far as what we really live for and what makes us want to make more of life happen, whether that be by having kids and making a family because things are so good in that area, or whether that be by creating more books or art or more work or more businesses. It's our drive. So it being in Cancer slows it way down, and it being in retrograde slows that energy way down, and it's been in Cancer. And Cancer is also a slow, watery energy that is not on the ground, but not in the full deep end of the ocean. It's kind of more like the quicksand. It's the marsh. It feels like you're walking through mud or really thick snow. It's about looking at the past and learning from the past. It's at 17 degrees and it's spending a long time at 17 degrees here. 17, the numerology of that number, we have 1, which is the self, the ego. The ego is important. It's important to develop the ego, because how we develop the ego in ourself and our personalities determines how we handle feelings and emotions and how we handle our heart's desires. So it's the self. And then it's 7. 7 has to do with faith. So it's what kind of faith do we have in ourselves individually is this energy that we've been exploring. And we're looking at not just our own histories during this lifetime, but we're also looking at the histories that the collective has had over a lifetime and many other lifetimes, where Cancer is about history. It's about studying history. So we're having an extra long time here where we're seeing the past repeating itself. 7 is a number that, as I said, means faith, and faith is a verb. So it's not just about believing that we can do it. It's about taking the action and doing it. But the thing about it is that when Mars is in retrograde, people are tired and sleepy, and it's a little harder to take action. And there's a lot of thought around security. Cancer rules, security of the home, security of the family, the security of, how does this affect me and my home? Well, 1 and 7, when you net those together, it nets to an 8. 8 is about challenging. So it's challenging. People are having a hard time having faith in themselves and taking action towards the faith that they have in themselves in regards to how things are going. 8 is shaped like a spiral, and it has to do with the hardships. 8 is about challenge, and it's reoccurring challenge. So for an example is, for a lot of species on Earth, wintry months are the hardest. They have to stay asleep, or they have to scurry to, stock up food before it happens. Or, for people in the party business, the winter, months after the holidays might be the hardest. Because there's not as many parties, because people are waiting for those income tax returns, or they're, like recuperating from all the money they spent on the holidays. So the winter time, as an example of challenge, it reoccurs every year. that time. So it's about noticing these challenging things that keep happening throughout the history of humankind, and noticing how the self has experienced it and how much faith we have in ourselves. And because this is happening during the time of Aquarius, we're examining how much faith we have in ourselves to see how much faith do we have in ourselves as individuals to be able to combine with others on a collective group level of belonging to create a momentum of change. And so I would say, because Mercury is in Aquarius right now, which makes it really hard, Aquarius can be misunderstood. We need clear communicators. We need people who are well-versed in speech, who are well-versed in getting their points across and being understood. And they are willing to be misunderstood to some degree, but they're able to be understood enough to manifest whatever it is. And those people would be the people that can get messages across that are most important until the 14th. So on the 14th, Mercury moves into Pisces. Piscean energy is not as literal. It's about poetry. It's about song. It's about metaphors completely. And Pisces energy is real tricky because Pisces can be straight to the truth. It can be, this is the Akashic record. This is the, the report of the end all be all of truth. If the channeler, the human, is not on some other substance that's interfering with the message. So the thing about Pisces is, because Pisces is so connected to spirit, ironically, they tend to indulge in substances that most people who are not so connected to spirit take to be able to get to that spiritual plane. Well, for Pisces, when they take those same things, they're trying to numb out where they're at, because they always have access to that. So if a Pisces is speaking supposed truth, really look and see, what's going on in their life. Are they drinking? Are they doing drugs? Not that there's anything bad about drinking and doing drugs. I'm not going to say that's good or bad, but they will be channeling more of the message of whatever the substance is than they will of the community and the humanity as a whole. And because so much of society relies on these substances to numb out, to have been producing commodified humans in the previous structure that we've been in for 260 years, while Pluto was in Capricorn before it met this sun here in Aquarius and this Mercury in Aquarius now. Because things were that way for so long and people were numbing out, what was my point? Just like whoop whoop. Society as a whole tends to be on these substances. So getting the message of people who are actually working towards change in regards to there being more fairness and humanity on community and collective levels, getting access to those messages that will help with that is tricky to come by. You really got to be looking for the messages that are coming from people that have clean systems, that have a clean vessel, that are organized in their vessel, that are doing the work, that are following, that are focused and doing it long term, and that are able to bareback, so to speak, like riding on a horse without a saddle. They're able to do that. That's like living without substances, and it being in the throes of addiction. And I'm not speaking against these substances, because for some of us, they're what keep us alive. But when it comes to channeling, you need a clear vessel. if you want to be channeling. And right now, during Aquarius season, what would be needed to be channeling would be the collective. The collective that is outside the previous box from the last 260 years, that collective. The collective that wants more humanity, that wants more fairness, that wants more kindness, that wants more unity as a whole, as a larger system. That's the collective that would be time to channel in. And that would be after the 14th, but only with clear vessels. Anything that has to do with home security, anything that has to do with what your family needs, really get that communicated and worked out before the 14th, because it's going to be things are going to feel really foggy for most people after the 14th, when Mercury, the planet of intellect and communication, moves into Pisces. So during that time after the 14th, spend time doing art, spend time playing video games that make you feel good, hopefully that have to do with collaborative efforts that bring about positive change. I would say during Aquarius season, those are the things that are going to feel the best and be the most fun. And stay safe out there and celebrate everything that you've brought about between the last 14 days of the new moon and now. Happy full moon in Leo.